I've always been a fan of slasher films, ever since I was a child. Yes, I used to watch cartoons and things of that nature, but as a child going through puberty, I was exposed to a lot of graphic content, and as a result, I developed an interest in it. I never really gravitated towards horror, mainly because the goal was never to be scared, but I would watch a horror movie if there's an interesting concept behind it. I watch slasher films because I find it intriguing, whether it may be who's the killer and why is the killer killing, Scream, or just watching from the serial killer's perspective, Orphan, or the antagonist being entertaining, Nightmare on Elm Street. For those who are unaware, slasher films are a subgenre of horror most popular from the late 50s to the early 90s, defined by its use of an unknown killer harassing or murdering groups of people. Slasher films are also used to provide a sort of character analysis on the killer or killers. They sometimes give backstory or context on what happened to the killer to change their mental state and what motivates them to take a life. As for the tropes, they don't really bother me, but there are a few that get under my skin. Number 1. The adults are completely useless. Yes, I am aware that teenagers are often the focus, but that doesn't mean the adults can't be of some use. Number 2. A prank that goes too far and either kills someone or leaves them severely injured. For some reason, most teenagers in slasher films are depicted as psychotic people that do twisted pranks. Number 3. When the car doesn't start when you are running from a killer. Number 4. People who are too dumb to be in a slasher film. Number 5. Non-vocal killers. I find no enjoyment in a killer that just stalks and kills. I prefer them to either be entertaining like Freddy or just talk. Number 6. I don't normally mind when they have serial killers use a different kind of weapon. I'm sure anyone would want their serial killer to have their own signature weapon, but some of these choices are just so stupid and non-practical. When it comes to watching slasher films, I like watching the ones from the 80s and the 90s, back when the genre was in its prime. And I also like being able to see what the 80s and 90s were like through the perspective of a slasher. And I haven't watched any 2000 ones yet. And the only recent ones I've watched are the ones from the Fear Street trilogy and the X trilogy. Both have extremely good, well-made movies. And I may start watching some slashers from the 2000s and see if there's any I like. So what I've gathered from reading reviews and watching YouTube reviews on slasher films is the common sentiment most people share is that most slasher films aren't really good. And that's either because they're poorly written, have low budget, have bad acting, bad dialogue, they copy a more successful slasher, they don't live up to the hype that the viewers had or the standards that the viewers had, or they lack depth. Honestly, I don't watch slasher films for character development. I watch it for entertainment purposes. And there are times where I want to dive into and explore the past of a character. But often there is a lack of depth when it comes to a character's past and motivations. So the lack of depth is something I can understand and relate to the most. Whether it is funny or thrilling, as long as it entertains me, I don't care about the budget or it copying other slashers. But the acting has to be really terrible to ruin my viewing experience, because I've watched plenty of other movies with bad acting and it didn't matter to me because it was entertaining and the story was intriguing and interesting. But if the story doesn't make any sense, then that's where I'd stop watching. So my favorite slasher films, in no particular order, include Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, Sleepaway Camp 2, Unhappy Campers, Orphan, Pearl, Fear Street 2, 1978, Terror Train, 1980, and April Fool's Day. If you've made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching, and if you've enjoyed the video, please share, like, and subscribe, and have a blessed day.